Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life chose us. Thank you to Revyz for backing us up and making the Jira Life possible.
That was the easiest win I've ever done.
Nah, you haven't won yet.
Disqualification if you're late.
It's a forfeit, not a win. We're teasing, of course.
Hey, a W's a W. I don't care how you get there.
What was it Peter Griffin said? Default, the two best words in the English language? Or was it Homer? I think it was Homer Simpson.
I don't watch enough Simpsons. I am half debating if I want to walk over to In-N-Out from the hotel. It's like a 15-minute walk.
You should. You should.
Hello. Welcome
What's up,
to
Bryan?
the actual live show now, Bryan, instead of the backstage.
Yeah, no, all good. Hello.
So in this corner, we have
You're
Dr.
opposite
Jira, Alex Ortiz. In this corner, we have Bryan, the Atlassian Dr. Guffey.
Hooah!
Doctor versus doctor.
Neither of us with actual PhDs.
No, but I've been told by a real PhD that I can keep it because I'm a fake doctor, because it's Dr. Jira, not Dr. Ortiz.
Gotcha.
The only way I was able to get away with it.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm just a guy.
You're just the guy.
No,
Not
a
just
guy.
You're the guy.
The guy.
It feels like there should be a word in the middle somewhere there.
No, you're just the guy.
The guy.
So, Mr. MC, how are we what are we doing here? How are you gonna kick us off so that Bryan and I can start fighting?
Yeah, who's on which side? I don't even know if we decided.
You're on your side, I'm on my side, and we kind of have to figure out which side wins.
Oh, okay. What
And
side?
So if you both happen to agree, this is going to be very... I'm not anticipating you both to agree because I know Alex.
Oh, yeah.
I say just everybody throw out their prediction over in the chat. Because quite frankly, yesterday I was reading the same thing that Alex was talking about that he was reading out there on LinkedIn. And my first response that I didn't put out there, though, was that I think there is going to be a lot of overlap. I think there is going to be agreement. But I think both of you are going to be like, no, and then like make your points so contentiously, even though they're the same, that you guys might not see it, but other people might.
As I was telling Robert yesterday, my concern isn't to have a proper debate. My concern is to have an entertaining show.
Exactly.
Well, we'll do that. Let me tell you.
look, Bryan's already ready to throw in the white flag.
Oh no, I'm
No.
this is my.
I did
come
not
on.
see a towel get thrown.
I'm just saying. You throw in the white towel, we're done. Just
Da,
call it out.
Yeah, we need some music. You're right, but then again, we'd have to pay royalties.
we
Exactly.
have the
Yeah.
licensing, or some variant of the
Oh,
licensing.
Sean says Agile was already a flawed methodology and we can't blame it on Jira. Interesting. I'm not sure that I fully agree.
So should
I
we
think
start off with the opening
there's-
statements, or
Yeah,
how do you
Alex,
do
you're
it?
Yeah.
first. Alex,
Yeah.
you're first.
I go first.
Home team first. Go.
I don't even know what side I'm on. All I can tell
Yeah,
you,
you got to pick.
I'll
Well,
tell you
You're on
that.
your side.
Hold
Okay,
on, restate the topic for anybody again who might be tuning in later, who might have skimmed past it. What is the debate, first of all?
The question on the table is
Okay.
Jira killing Agile?
Which could be interpreted in lots of ways, but is
Many different
Jira killing Agile? All
And
right.
so I'm going to take the position that Jira is indeed killing Agile, and that is a bad thing.
And then
Excellent.
Bryan?
I mean, I will take the statement that Jira is not killing Agile. And but I will say that even if it, well, first of all, I'll say because I don't believe Agile can be killed.
All right.
I mean, if we're going to get meta on this, like, can you kill something you can't touch?
Yes.
Can you
yes,
kill
can.
democracy?
Some people try. Every day I wake up in the news.
I know.
All right, so I'm handing it back over now that we've laid some groundwork and some for future
Again,
audience.
we're not that kind of podcast, so
Not
let's
today.
stay back to
I
Jira.
haven't had anything to drink.
All right. So my opening statement has been so let's go with this. So first, I'll make a statement that I believe that from the get-go, ever since I've jumped into Jira, to the wonderful world of Jira, they've implemented Agile in a not as to the T way. And what I mean by that is Jira does things differently than the Agile, the rest of the Agile community would typically do. And the biggest one I can tell you is on that task. That I can't tell you how many people I have to explain to them that a task in Jira is not the same thing as a task in Agile.
What is a task in Agile?
A task in Agile is a child of a user story. And in Jira, it's a sibling. They're at the same hierarchy level. The subtask is the child of the user story.
All Agile or Scrum?
That's a great question. I would say Agile in general. I don't know that I've seen it anywhere else.
Gotcha.
I've done it in all my just generic Agile training. It's been like that.
Okay, that's your open. We have more?
No, I was just saying that Jira, because of that, they're set up for failure.
Got it. Okay, so I will say that in response, Jira is not killing Agile, and it's not because Jira is quote unquote designed for or not for Agile. Again, I think we have a problem here already, which is that Agile is a term that encompasses a whole bunch of different practices and methodologies. And as Matt said earlier, I think what we're really trying to talk about is business agility. Unless we're talking about Agile, the Agile industrial complex. And if we're talking about the Agile industrial complex and Scrum and Safe and Less and Lean and all of these, the only thing that's killed any of those are the people who are stuck on doing things exactly the way that some methodology says instead of what works best for a company. Jira is just one other piece of that puzzle. And you can customize the tool. I will agree with you that it does not come default configured for an effective, this, right?
This is one of my favorite Agile pictures. This is Agile. Everything in here.
Right. Yeah. And so Jira doesn't so if you've got a Scrum project, it doesn't work like a Scrum project. Like Scrum might work in what traditional Agile. But that's a tool thing. It's not like you can't make it work the way that you want it to. You're just going to have to change things a bit. One of the things that I always love to do is create a task and then just create linkages or I'll just create a regular task called subtask or something. I just make a hierarchy the way I want to, break it up.
But
sure.
But you take Agile training normally, right? You do this boot camp, you do your certified Scrum Master stuff, you do anything that's in the Agile side of the house, and there's rules of engagement that are taught to you, right? So that you can be as successful as you can. You need some order, though. Without order, then what are we doing?
That's fair. I think you do need order. I think what is not taught most effectively is that order only serves you up until a point. And then you need to be aware of what is actually going to work for the business.
But that's theoretical. That's theoretical.
What do you mean?
What you just described? No, what you described is it's an idea. It's not. You can't touch that. That's why Jira is so important, because Jira allows you to take the theory of however you want to run your business, and it lets you actually then do it.
Sure, but so do sticky notes.
Yeah.
And, why do we use Jira?
Because we can't be physically next to each other for another 3 hours.
But why don't we use Miro or any of these other tools? Rally, yeah.
I would argue, because again, the tools are optimized for a certain framework or to do the work in a specific way.
Yeah, 3M is the archetypical Agile tool. In many ways, that's very true because it's infinitely flexible, right? You can implement anything you want with some sticky notes and a board. Software has constraints. And the constraints that Atlassian originally built into Jira, I think made sense at the time to some degree. I get the point about Scrum. I don't understand why the thing is the way that it is with tasks. But is that the thing that killed Agile? No.
No, the thing that's killing Agile is Atlassian allowing you to do whatever the heck you want now.
I mean, but you could always do
No.
whatever you wanted. Yeah,
No,
you
you
could.
could not. You could not always put epics into your sprints.
Okay. I mean, you could. You just have to call them. You'd have to hack the heck out of Jira.
Right.
I mean,
But the common folk
available,
would.
Alex.
Sorry?
Like, ultimately, what you're saying is that Atlassian is letting people use the tools to build practices that work for them.
Yes, at the expense of allowing this, whatever this is, to take a back street or back seat.
But here's my question. Okay, that's maybe. So here's my question. Do you think that you can implement any type of Agile in Jira effectively?
As of right now, the way Atlassian is setting us up, I think you can do whatever you want as long as your team has some framework that you want to follow. The most popular one being like something like SAFe, right? Which Jira has historically done horribly bad. But now there's more hope for it.
So wait, okay, so now there's more hope because Atlassian's giving people more ability to configure things. So how is that killing Agile?
Okay, because not everybody's ready to do it. Like, it doesn't work perfectly. I think they're killing it for the simple fact that the rules that they're creating is like half-baked, I guess. That makes sense? We'll go back to like 2 weeks ago when you and I were on a call together that you can now put your epic inside of your sprint. We're like, cool, but why isn't it in the backlog? And so, like, I feel like Atlassian is trying to make these changes to give people the freedom to do whatever they want, but they're doing it in such a bad way that you can't really fully do what you want.
So I can see that. Let me ask you this question. Are they doing it in a bad way, or are they literally rolling things out in an Agile way? In other words, like they're offering incremental changes as they have them available. I think the thing that's happening is some companies are looking for a set of things and the changes are not serving them anymore. Maybe they served them before. You know, what it may be doing is it's creating a situation. I think it's creating a situation where customers have to look at the practices that they've used previously and ask, does this still make sense for us?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. At the same time, though, whatever it is that they're modeling into, I'm fearful that at least in whatever version of Agile Jira had before they started making these changes recently, there was still some established rules of engagement that you could follow. Like, I could tell a team, here's how you should function, right? Follow these rules, right? Rules that I defined, and Agile with a lot of influence from Scrum, right? Specifically, if I'm being clear, Scrum, and I go, follow these rules, and you should be successful, right? Your frustration with the tool should go down, the efficiency of your utilization of the tool should go up, and your team should be effective if you follow the rules that I defined. But by enabling you to rename your epic to be whatever the heck you want, anything you want, right? Then which one of these is Atlassian telling us we should follow? And your answer should be anything you want, right? But that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is, because it's a blank canvas, and talk about like writer's block. An organization that's just staring at a blank canvas and going like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Well, okay. But here's the thing. We just talked about you, as an example, as an Agile coach, come in and you say to companies, implement this and your frustration with the tool should go down. But really what I think you should be saying is implement this and you should be more successful from a software delivery perspective, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying effectively, do you think you can, if you're the one who gets to set the constraints, you still get to set the constraints.
But by opening it up to any possibility, then it's harder to set the constraints because anything is possible.
Why? Why can't you just keep using the constraints that you've had?
You can.
You don't have to
Absolutely.
change.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Yeah, you don't. But I'm fearful that over time, Atlassian will leave whatever we have today so far behind that it'll just be a figment of our imagination.
Well, I mean, so I understand that. So here's my question. Let's go back to the original Agile Manifesto and then when Agile was originally born. Now we have this whole big thing of Agile right now. Like all of these things became Agile, right? We introduced new processes, new frameworks. They all got adopted under the Agile umbrella. Now there's debate about which ones are really Agile and which aren't. What is the system of work but another one of those?
Nothing but a failure that Atlassian's going to figure out soon enough.
But see, this is the thing. That's exactly what all of these were originally. Every single one of these were an idea that people tried and failed and iterated and tried and failed and iterated. So isn't Atlassian just doing the same thing and trying to make its platform more flexible? I mean, remember, one of the things we hear most, or we heard most from so many companies that have become successful, is that they struggled to use Jira effectively because of the constraints that were built into it. So at what point is it important to enable those companies versus, part of it is that Atlassian, I guess if I have a thing that I can agree with you on, I'll say this. It's really hard to be everything to everybody.
It is.
And I'm not sure that Atlassian wants to be everything to everybody. I think Atlassian is building a tool that is designed for people who work remotely or are not all co-located at the same time, primarily. They're building a tool that is optimized for asynchronous work, not synchronous work. And that's the tool that they're interested in building towards the future. Is that's Agile?
Great. And it's not, right? And hence the statement.
Well, no, but it is.
Okay, because all the teams that I work with, when what you just described becomes a reality, they're left standing with like, what do we do? It's like the best example of that I can show you is A Bug's Life. When the leaf falls and they're trying to get the harvest, their seeds to their, that big leaf where they're gonna get it ready for the grasshopper, right? That's the moment that leaf falls. Those ants got lost. And they're like, what do we do? What do we do? And poor Flick has to come and go, you got to go around the leaf, right? And teams, what Atlassian's doing here by letting you do whatever the heck you want is the leaf falling on a team that had some law and order. And I was like, do whatever you want. And they're like, lost.
But they still have the law and order. It's a choice to change.
But there's a leaf in the way. The mentality is that the leaf is there. You can't move the leaf.
And that's the job of the Agile coach, the job of
all the people that got laid off,
who are going to get hired again. Like, here's the thing. What we're talking about, and this is, I'm really glad you guys asked me to be on this episode, because what we're talking about is about the way that tools, productivity tools, delivery tools influence our company culture, right? And so here we are. Atlassian is changing the tool, and teams are going to be faced with the fact that this tool that used to define our culture a certain way, or help define our culture, is changing. And so now we need to understand how our culture and the way that we work responds to that change.
But the culture is nothing but toxicity, though. There's no good cultures out there. Every company you work out there has their own hidden agendas, their own it's all bad everywhere.
No, it's all mixed everywhere.
No, it's bad.
No, I disagree. I worked for 13 years at a company that did not have a perfect culture, but had at the base level a supportive, engaged, fail fast culture.
And I worked in a dozen companies, and it's all just high school all over. Bowling for soups, high school never ends. Different places, different faces, but it's just the same game.
So are either of us wrong, or is it just the reality that there's so many companies out there that you can't say what it all is?
I'm going to interject. And
Yes.
It goes back to some points I was making yesterday, in that, all of that is colored by your perspective, right? It's how you view things there, especially when it comes to culture, whether they're good, bad, whether you see things as high school all over again, whether you see things as they encourage folks, right, to speak up and be open and fail fast, etc. A lot of what you see about those things are going to be colored by who you are, what you're looking
Yeah.
for, what, where you want reinforcements of your opinions. And oftentimes it's just the day. Ask me today, what are the cultures like? Ask me next week, what are the cultures like? And I'll be having a great day next week. And I'll be like, no, you know what? It's great. So over to Bryan, right? And the idea, yeah, both exist. Both absolutely exist. And they exist within the same organizations, right? How many times do we hear it's the team, right? Where people are like, oh, should I go work at that company? You talk to one person in one department, hell no, don't go there. Talk to another person in another department, and they're like, this has been the most incredible experience of my life. So they all exist all throughout there. Sorry,
but that's only fine and dandy until the bottom line gets hit. Because the moment a company is not making the money or doing this turnover for the shareholders, it all goes to hell. Which is another reason why I don't like.
When you get shareholders.
Which is one argument that I would do. Like what Jira does very poorly, and if Atlassian were to help us out with something, it would be to be more like Microsoft Project or to be more like Smartsheets. Because the fact that I can't get two tasks linked together, and the moment that I slip on one task, the downstream effect be able to automatically be done for me, that blows my mind that Jira can't do something so primitive.
What do you mean you can't?
Natively.
Natively.
Oh, well, with automation, which is native now.
The what?
Automation.
No.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. But the common project manager is not going to go and figure out automations to make something that should happen natively.
Well, Alex, that's where you can build a package of automations and sell it as an app or give it away to people so that they install it and then it automatically configures. So this is the thing that Atlassian is doing that I think is really powerful, is that they had a tool, it had constraints. They're adjusting those constraints. There's still going to be constraints. You're not going to be able to do anything you want. Like you're not going to be able to suddenly like put a banana inside your computer.
I mean, you can try. You're definitely able to rename your epic to a banana.
That's true. Absolutely.
I've done that before.
And for some people, here's the thing about that. It might work really effectively because they have really bad associations with the word epic. And the goal is to get the team and the people to work effectively. So we do whatever suits them.
But you got to figure out why did they have bad associations with the word epic?
You do. At the same time, you also have to keep working. We have to do both. We have to learn how to address this. I mean, again, this is agile, continuous improvement. Sometimes, like we will figure out those whys, and also we have to make little steps. I think the thing that I would say is that, to what Sarah said, which I think is really important, it is very, very, very hard for a company to define a culture and then hold on to it through growth. Like incredibly hard. And you have to be willing to make sacrifices that very often capitalism does not allow you to make. At the same time, I would look at Ben & Jerry's and say, look at that company which fights tooth and nail to stay aligned in their values to the point that they left their parent company Unilever. So it can be done, and I don't believe it has to come at the problem are structures that are bigger than we are, and the best that we can do is address what we can address. And I don't think that what Atlassian is doing is taking those things away. I think what Atlassian is doing is saying, you can keep the same constraints that you had. You can change them if you want now. If you've always wanted to change them, here's an opportunity. And you can, with the help of Forge, institute new ones and implement 100%. Those.
100%. I don't disagree with you. The problem is the common user. How do they get there?
You teach them. What Sarah has done her entire career.
But what's also happening, what is also to me awesome and as a consultant scary right now, is how much now they are putting in where people need the help.
Oh yeah.
How accessible it is in the instances, obviously, especially in cloud, when you first start and all the prompts you get, right? And I laugh at my age when I'm like, all the wizards, all the easy clicks you can make. And so to the point of, well, how would your common, right, your user, your average typical user get in there and do these things? Well, your average typical user probably, again, you're not like obviously as old as I am, Alex, but you're still, not new to the working world. And so folks are coming in with more and more and more and more technical expertise as they join. So those hurdles are significantly lower for them. And then number two, right now we have all the AI in there. And so a lot of times somebody just has to think, boy, wouldn't it be great if, and then they can go figure out how to do that.
Here's something I'm seeing just as a trend, and this I think goes to the heart of this statement. When most of us started with Jira, it was a tool that was not ready for much of anything out of the box. Even if we were doing as pure agile as we could possibly do, there was still a lot of things the Jira admin and the agile coach had to do. Not even including the training that had to go into that, where you had to bring everyone in, sometimes one team at a time, and go through that 2-week training process or however long it was. And all these things you had to do as Jira admin. I'm seeing Atlassian shift away from that to something more out of the box ready, something that, and this is a lot of the features that I see Alex complain about, specifically that, are stuff made to be easier for an end user to just jump in and get started with. These are the team managed projects. These are, dare I say it, even the new UI are meant to enable people to just jump in rather than have to learn the system first.
But that fundamentally is so flawed, because the ability to do what you just described is so dangerous to an organization. Right? Because you can go in and do whatever the heck you want and configure the tool however the heck you want. But Sally from accounting is going to configure it completely different, right? Except Sally and Timmy and Billy and all of them have to work together at the end of the day. And it's so hard to work together when you have 30 different languages.
Well, but you don't have 30 different languages. What you have,
when you're all configuring your Jira projects differently, you are.
Hold on.
I'm about to start muting some people.
If you're underlying, what matters is the data. This is one of the things that's happening, especially in Alex. What matters is, am I pulling the fields from the same table? Am I putting the information back in there? Because what the UI is simply a way for me to understand information, and everybody understands information differently. As long as you understand the point of the work we need to do and how to do it, I don't care if you get it from, I don't care what it looks like on your screen, as long as you understand it. I think the thing that is scary about that, especially for people who are coaches and trainers, is that you don't get to have a single UI that you're teaching people. You have to teach them that the UI is configurable and that they get to make decisions about the way that things present for them. You have to teach them concepts rather than rote memorization.
All right. Give Alex a chance to talk.
You can't, because I've been in scenarios where I have a completed date, requested completed date, and due date. What's the difference between three very, very similar fields? Because 3 different teams said that they do basically the same thing. And what you just said, yeah, it's unique to them. But when I'm the CTO and I'm looking at 3 very different fields with 3 very different dates, how do I run my billion-dollar organization?
Because the way that you should be doing that is that underneath that, it's the same field.
But it's not.
Well, no, but it can be. There's
Not
still a
in Jira.
space for governance. Yes.
How do you
Maybe
do
not
3
today,
different
but
fields of the same field?
let me tell you, maybe not today, but let me tell you, probably right. There's still a rule. This is the thing. Just because you can do anything doesn't mean you will do anything, and that's why there is still a role for governance. Governance is still absolutely important, but UI doesn't change governance.
No, it does not, but it helps it. The rules of Jira help govern your governance.
your governance should be telling Jira how it works. I don't need Jira to tell me how to do things. I know what needs to be done. I know what's going to work more effectively. That's what I've been trained to do. That's the learning. That's the journey that I've been on.
Then why do we have Agile manifestos if anything can work?
Why do we have an Agile manifesto? Well, hold on. We didn't say anything can work. What we said was we can create. Well, actually, let me take this back. The Agile manifesto simply says we should do right by people over process.
And then 20 other things, but sure.
Right. The idea is we work more flexibly than in a constrained way. And here you are, interestingly enough, talking about how many constraints we've got to have or we can't do it.
Yes, because I've been on the line at $150,000 a day burn rate, and people over processes creates anarchy. And until people are explicitly told, here's what I expect from you, here's what you're supposed to do, and by when, then there's no order. You have
One
to
of the reasons
you have to provide
Go ahead.
order.
one of the problems that tools that are inflexible cause, because somebody said I'm people process tools. Sarah said this, and your tools process people. And here's what I would say: I am people process and tools are not three separate things. They are one thing. It is culture. And so when you highlight process over people, then you create other problems. It's just a choice of like, here's the thing, there is no perfect system. Like, that's the reality. We have the constraints of Jira. There were problems. We don't have those constraints. There will be problems. It's about which problems you choose. And I think that the problems that come from having to, like, if you have a bunch of people who can't get on the same page, there's a culture problem. There's a people problem inside that company.
Yeah,
and you need to solve
You
that.
can't trust humans. Humans can't be trusted. There's a reason why when you get on the freeway, you're not going 60 miles per hour on the opposite side of the flow of traffic. There's rules for that reason.
So there's a guideline, and there are rules. There's general rules that people follow. Right. Thankfully, there is some standardization
and
to
that's
that.
What we need.
However, there is also oftentimes nothing that does stop people from going over to the other side.
And in fact, that standardization changes what it looks like depending on what country you go to. How fast you can go on the road. Is there a speed limit on the road? Depends on where you are. They're not all the same everywhere.
They're not. But try driving in Mexico. Let's go.
But the people in Mexico know how to drive in Mexico.
Heck yeah, they do.
Right, exactly. Because why? It's part of the culture.
Adapted.
It's something that they're taught and learned.
Yes,
exactly.
Right.
Adaptation is the name of the game.
It is. And there's a reason why the United States is the United States and other countries are not.
And so Atlassian is adapting to its wider audience and broader needs that it can meet.
Well, and it is at the center of this tension here, right? Like, I love that, Sarah, because part of the tension that we're sitting at is that Atlassian as a company is changing. And it's changing in really big and I think profound ways that leave a lot of people very uncomfortable. And also, it is what the organism is called to do.
Yeah.
It is what the external forces are shaping. Is that always good? Is that always right? No, but is it what it is? Yes. And do you have to and so is this it's a great thing. People talk about digital transformation. We all know it. Here's the thing. Do you ever complete a digital transformation?
No, it's like Tomorrowland. It's never done.
Exactly.
Well, because
Atlassian, right, exactly. Atlassian is evolving just like Atlassian is supposed to evolve.
Yeah.
The question is whether you like the evolution or not. And maybe you don't today, but maybe you might in a year or two.
Yeah. I'll go back.
Because you have to evolve too.
You do. But I'll go back and answer Matt Thor's statement here. So yeah, I do sound very authoritarian. But I'm going to go back to my $150,000 day burn rate. I was on a program 3 years behind schedule. And when you trust people to self-organize and do what they need to do to get across the finish line, they tend to stumble. And it wasn't until we had a new director come in. She cleaned up shop, gave everybody some law and order. Jira ended up becoming our single source of truth, and we just had data. We didn't care for sprints. We didn't care for story points. We didn't care for stories or bugs or anything. We did care for it, but we were looking at raw data. Every single day, we're looking at every new item. I don't care if it was a story, a task, or bug, or whatever. We're looking at every item as a single entry. And then we had a chief engineer, a decision maker, making a call, and then telling everybody else how to react to that call. It's the only way we turned that program around, and 6 months got a plane delivered.
Right. So that's called an external constraint.
Okay.
You had a thing that needed to be done, and so the organism had to adapt. It's just teams of teams, and sometimes like, and I think about it like this, like sometimes adaptation is not pleasant. Sometimes, and it can be sometimes, but like you're right. So this is one of human nature. Absolutely. Some people are going to fight the change. And we do it. And here's the other part. I think a point that you make that's valid is that we exist inside of a hierarchy. Like companies are hierarchical by and large, not always. But I think one of the things that you are arguing to some degree is how do you exist in self-organizing teams when there's a hierarchical structure around them at the same time? How do those two actually interface effectively?
I think by caring. I think too many people just don't care enough to go to do what needs to be done.
Why do you think people don't care?
Because of the way the system's set up, and go back to the culture of the companies.
Right.
It's all about your team culture, which I've never seen a positive one.
You've never been a
I
part
know
of a
the
positive
companies
team
I've
culture?
ever worked with and or consulted and or coached with, which is dozens and dozens now. No.
That's really disappointing. I'm sorry
It
to
is.
hear
And
that.
Atlassian is the only one that I've seen that has some positivity in it. And even then, I see it diminishing away.
It's a struggle. It's a real struggle it's a real struggle when a company grows, because what you're talking about is, I think something you're talking about is that decentralized governance becomes harder the larger an organization gets. And most the thing is, the secret, I think, of Agile is that decentralized governance is actually the way humans are meant to operate. It is that we wanted to build much bigger things that you couldn't necessarily do with the way people understood decentralized governance, or people weren't willing to put in the time to deal with all of the mess of decentralized governance at that scale. And that's where you get hierarchy and authoritarianism to some degree.
But I think to a certain degree, as human beings, we need a line of sight towards a North Star. And I think that with decentralized governance, we don't have a North Star because everybody has their variant of the North Star. And you just wander out and then fall.
I disagree. I think with decentralized governance, you just have to do so much more work to create the culture that drives the vision towards the North Star.
But somebody has to make a call and say, this is the way we're going.
The group can make that call.
But somebody has to be the catalyst of the idea. Then the team has to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a person, somebody.
Yeah, so it's not any different. It's just some people went way over their head with their egos.
Yeah, I think that the difference is how much work am I going to do to get you on board with the idea? How much of your dissent am I going to tolerate? How do I make space for your disagreement while also getting you to while also convincing you to move forward in a direction with me?
I don't know, because I believe in compromise, but also like a great example is my kiddo here. I got a 13-year-old kid, right? Revolution, or what is it? It's the worst time to be alive when you're going through your hormones.
Yeah, it really is.
And he's got approximately a week and some change to get to school. And at the start of the first day of summer break, I told him, here's a book that I need you to read. And he is down to the wire. And I have not bugged him at all for the entire summer. but cautiously and vigilantly watching him the entire summer to see every decision that he makes, to either read the book that he's supposed to be responsible for or play his game that he wants to do. And he's taught me a lot about human behavior, because you're not going to do the thing you have to do. And sometimes we have hard bugs in Jira. Sometimes we have hard user stories in Jira. And when we don't have enough rules, right? When we just all cohesively do what we want to do, I don't think we make progress, which
So
is
I
why
have
we
to
get
tell
in
you-
trouble.
So I have to tell you, let me tell you a story. This is really interesting. So, I have, up until the last 4 or 5 years, my partner is my first relationship I ever had, real relationship, and we dated for like 8 months apart, and then I moved in. And let me tell you, and then it was in the pandemic. And one of the hardest things that I've had to learn how to do is to learn how to be willing to do the things that I don't want to do, because there is value in doing them, because he can't make me do them. I have to figure out, like, he won't make me do them. It is, and also, this is the other thing. One of the ways that we get people to want to do things is we set consequences, but they still have to choose to do them. You literally can't make somebody do something. Consequences are not like antithetical to self-organizing teams. Consequences are a natural result of what we do and don't do. And so one of the things when you, like, I had to learn to want to stop and listen and not put my want to understand why he said things the way that he did. But I had to, like, make a decision to be like, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to put that first, my need to understand the way that he's talking, over my need, like his need to be validated for the way that he was feeling. And that's a choice that I just had to figure out how to make. And I think, you talk about your son, and you said, here's a book that you need to read by the end of the summer. Here's my question when we talk about culture. And I say, this with all of the understanding that I know that you're a wonderful father and all of that. But what did you do to help him want to read that book?
Well, that was the thing. This was more of a test for me than anything else. I gave him a book and I gave him a thing that said, do it. And I was just more curious if he'd do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're right. He won't unless he wants to.
Right. No, yeah.
Yeah. And we got to, the thing is, this is one of the things that I think is always really funny to some degree, is that people say you got to do the hard thing. And sure, when people make the right thing hard, you have to do the hard thing to do the right thing. But what if we made doing the right thing the easy thing? What if we made it the path that got you the most praise, that got you the most, recognition, that felt good, that wasn't filled with pitfalls and all of that?
I don't know, but I just think I think we have so much agile training, but we don't get enough how to work with people training. And
You're right.
I think
Yes.
example of what's going on in the chat here, I think is beautiful, right? How many of you have been with a significant other of yours on a Friday night and said, where do you want to go eat tonight? And we're
And want to punch them for having the same answer. I don't know. What do you want?
Right.
Go on.
that happens.
we don't ask that question at my house.
Right.
Rather than ask what you want, we ask, what are you not feeling? What do you not want?
I do that
Then
too.
we try to plan around that.
But that same principle carries over to Jira when you say do whatever you want. Well, everybody's going to be like, whatever.
Well,
That's why you need
but-
the law and order. That's why you need somebody to stick their head out.
But, the difference here is that Atlassian is saying, you make the decision. You learn to
But
have
I'm
those
telling you
conversations.
that you cannot trust human beings to make the decision, because everybody's going to want to do their own thing. And when you let everybody do their own thing, then it leads to anarchy and chaos.
Then the job
and
is
we end
to
up not doing anything for dinner on a Friday night.
Right, but the way that society, here's the thing: the way that communal societies that still exist today in Africa and in Australia like it's fascinating to look at the Aboriginal cultures of Australia, especially. They do not govern the way that we govern. And you don't have to tell somebody what to do. It is we as a group have said that this is the way that the culture is going to operate. And you are welcome to be the part of that or not. But not being a part of that is a choice that you make. Like, I just want to be really clear that consequences and rules are not antithetical to self-organizing teams. The question is, what participation do you have in the rules being set? That's the question.
But I don't think that matters, because I am the first person that'll tell you that I hate having rules set upon me. Sarah and Bob will attest to that as they try to control me at team.
Oh, just those two?
Well, you weren't in person too. You weren't in person. But I will tell you that when you believe in a mission so much, you don't care what the rules are. Like, you will do what it takes to hit that mission.
And there will be consequences for doing so. You will, if you choose to put the mission over the people and the team, then your relationships with the team will suffer and the team will deteriorate.
When the entire team is behind the mission.
Well, yes, exactly. Right, exactly. But how did that happen? You had to
by
do
having
the work
a leader up front or in the back. Whatever.
You had to get somebody had to convince everybody else to be on the same page.
Right. But that's the point. You convince somebody to be on the same page, and once everybody's on the same page, you can now move towards the goal. But when you're back into Jira and you let everybody and anybody do whatever they want, however they want, how do you get everybody on the same page when you have no rules then?
Here's my question. Whoever, like, the average user in Jira is not going to be able to create custom fields.
They are when they're team managed projects.
Yes. No, but even then, no, that's not true. Only the project admin can.
There's a lot of those.
Those are still rules.
Even before, and I hate to interject myself into this, but here we are. Even before team managed projects were a thing, I would not give control of a project over to a project admin until I, as the Jira admin, had trained them.
But now you're okay. But training still, you can train somebody, but free will is still free will.
And consequences still exist.
No, they don't.
What do you mean they don't exist?
They can go unnoticed. Yes, consequences exist, but they can go unnoticed. You don't. If you screw up your Jira, you don't necessarily know that you just screwed up your tool.
I mean, I don't know.
The only way you know that you screwed up your Jira is when you rename a status or you make a field required.
Well, this is the point. I think this is such a great point that this LinkedIn user says. The primary responsible was the influence to keep teams from falling off the rails of our governance. The whole job here, like, you're right. You can't. Here's the thing: rules don't make people do things either.
They don't. They absolutely don't. Especially when you hate the rules as much as I do.
Before we get too far, I do want to give credit where credit due. That LinkedIn user name is Orla Myers. Thank you for jumping in and talking to us. Just want to make sure they got the name credit they deserve.
Nick said Agile is amazing with smaller teams, but crashes with larger teams. Won't go full waterfall, but some structure is needed. Again, structure and Agile are not opposites. Self-organizing teams does not mean you get to do whatever you want, period. That's not what it means, and that's not what Jira is either.
Right, but you clearly never worked for a self-organizing team because that's how they interpret it.
No, I have worked for a self-organizing team. And the thing is that self-organizing means self-organizing inside your team. You still, part of being part of a culture and a group and an organization is that, and part of hiring good people is that you hire people who care about the impact of what they do on other people.
Yeah, but that's so easy said than done. Like finding people that actually cares, like finding a diamond in the rough.
On this point, I'm not going to say it's a diamond in the rough, but I am going to say that they're right. People do run the gamut, and not everybody is going to care in the same ways. and they're gonna, and everybody hopefully deserves a job out there, right? and so there's going to be, a handful of personalities, but you need the one that can work with all of those personalities to try to get them aligned, facing all the same direction, as it were.
That is such a deflating job to get.
Unless you love it.
Who loves dealing with so many personalities?
Oh, it's my favorite thing.
See?
I ran an organization that I had to manage effectively, totally, 50 gay men that were volunteers from the ages of like 20 to 55. And my favorite thing was to get to know them, to understand what motivated them. Because everybody's motivated differently. If there's a problem, the problem is that most people who need to do that work are not given the time to do that work.
I don't know. I believe in that one law that if you have too much time to do the work, then you take up all the time to do the work. And there's nothing better than to not have enough time to do the work to get the work done.
You have ADHD?
No.
He says no, Brian. He says no.
No.
We all know better.
We all know better.
The guy who literally just said, I love enforcing rules and having rules, but don't apply them to me. Like,
no, I didn't say don't apply them to me. I said I hate having them applied to me.
Well, this is the point.
Right.
Tomato, potato.
I will tell you guys and gals that Brian and I, in like 2 hours, do need to come together to actually work together as a team and put together a whole event tomorrow.
And we're gonna do it successfully.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys are different and you come at it from different perspectives, and yet you are focused on the same outcome.
The criticality of the mission is the most important thing, above all else. Above all, Agile, the way
you
you're
were a self-organizing team.
I don't actually
organized team.
I don't actually have any particular authority.
What are you talking about, Brian? You had all the authority in this event.
But not really.
But we conform to you. We conform to your vision.
You can only have the authority that you are given.
Yes. Right, exactly. And there is a person, their name, who doesn't always like to give the authority, and we struggle some.
I'm not going to say names either, but
Brian,
I feel you.
Yeah,
I feel you.
Oh, man.
Is it me?
No, Sarah.
They may or may not be in this room.
Oh dear.
Well, Sean said you only have the off that you take. There's a balance between the two. It's true. If you don't choose to take it, oftentimes people won't give it. There is a permission that happens when you choose to step up, and people either give it to you or they don't.
All I can tell you is I've gone hungry on a Sunday because my wife and I can't decide where we're going to go eat. And we end up just going to the refrigerator and see what's in there.
Yeah, and I'll just say you can both eat separate things.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There have been times where we went to separate restaurants to pick up food just so we could each have something we wanted.
Oh yeah.
That is
I'll
very
do it with my
not
family
family.
all the time. Now,
That's a constraint.
Yeah.
That's very rare. We end up just making a call.
As a total, I don't know. In my mind, it's a related thing. Somebody had posted recently about what they teach in school right now, right? And again, for my age, and my kids who are also 13 and 15. And at first, some of the curriculum, some of the outcomes, some of the things they talked about in their, what are we going to do this year? I was like, where is that writing arithmetic and, reading, writing, arithmetic? And I was like, hardcore academic. Where's all these academics? How come we're worried about this when, there's these things that I grew up with that were the most important things? And I have done an about face on that in a big way. Because those things now are so easy to learn and so quick to learn for people. And it's really is the things we're talking about here is how do we work with each other? How do we be part of self-organizing teams? How do we group? How do we have that empathy? How do we have that recognition that other folks aren't like me? How do I, bring people together? And even, the starting doing presentations in kindergarten, like I was like, get out, kid. But right, so that they're comfortable getting up and talking to people, and it's been an eye opener. And so I say all of that with I hope it all gets better, because as you're talking about all those things that makes those toxic environments and cultures at places are hopefully going, that it's going to become smaller and smaller and smaller parts of those organizations. So as those kids getting some, exposure to some of these ideas earlier on and more frequently, as they start to enter the workforce. God, I hope there's still a workforce when my kids are older, that they, they have those skill sets.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point. Bringing it back to Jira, Atlassian,
Who cares?
Atlassian really does have very relevant to what you said, but Atlassian has a very big challenge where in a typical company, you have a 70-year-old to a 18-year-old.
Yep. It's exactly. Yes, exactly.
And those two extremes do work very, very differently.
Yes.
And it's usually the 70, like most executives are in the 50, 60, 70 age. And most newbies are in the 20s and 30s age. And that disconnect, it's more catastrophic than if you have your Jira. If you have an Epic and a Jira or not.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why I think configurable UI is actually so important.
And so you have to support it, but sure.
Well, okay. So, right. This is one of the things that I've always wanted to point out, which is all of the people who are complaining about the new UI primarily were admins. And why? Why is this the case?
Because I got to listen to a bunch of whiny babies.
Well, sure. But I mean, well, actually, it's because honestly,
we're recorded.
teaching people, I love it too, Bob. Teaching people the concepts and how to understand what something is, regardless of not just where it exactly is harder. And it's not what we used to have to do. We're having to level up. That's, I think, Sarah, the point you made was so good, which is like there are so many things which we can learn with so much ease now that we weren't able to learn before. Now, we still have to choose to learn them, but the job of education is to prepare people. It should be the job of education in good schools to prepare people for the things that they cannot get other places and give them a solid grounding in what they need to be successful. And here's the other thing that's really true. This is another piece of the philosophy that I've been building and putting together. If college is where you learn how to first to be an adult, work is where you really learn how to be like a long-term human and grown up. If you want to know why there are a lot of bad people in the world, it's because there are a lot of bad workplaces. Because we spend most of our time at work. And so if you want to have good people, you need to have good workplaces.
I would take it one step further. If you want to have good people, you need to have good managers.
Yeah. Well, you can't have a good workplace without a good manager.
I can be in a team here. I love work with you all any day. But having a bad manager is going to destroy the team. Agreed.
But you can't have a good workplace without good managers. And then you can't have good managers without good manager training.
But too many managers get promoted because they're on a jumbotron.
Well, no, I mean, yes, but especially in software development, managers unfortunately get promoted because they're good developers, and managing people is not the same as being a software developer.
I have so many strong feelings about that.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, listen.
I want to remind everyone on the show that we have like 1 minute left.
We do, because I got to drive all the way to LA. Bye.
We're going to need final thoughts.
Okay. My final thoughts are, I think that Alex and I are closer together than one would normally think. Jira isn't breaking Agile. What it's doing is asking people to, exactly, asking people to take more responsibility for things, because there are people who are asking for that responsibility to be effective.
Yeah, but again, with the responsibility, you're gonna end up like my kid, just crash and burn.
Well, he might crash and burn this time, but that's fine. That's part of learning.
Yeah, I mean that's why I also had him watch Batman Begins, and I taught him, why do you fall down so you can get back up again.
Absolutely.
Then I also taught him that some men just want to watch the world burn.
That is also true.
So
But
we watched a lot of
yeah.
Batman the other day.
But most of those people often are like have real problems that weren't like that they did not get help for. You know?
And, you just said, I think, Alex, I heard you say something about getting philosophical on this show. And here's the thing. It's the Jira Life. It's not the Jira tool that we talk about here. It's the Jira Life. And
that's a really
big
good
part
point.
of the life.
Yeah.
And with Jay Cadwell here, I think we call it. Oh hell
Yes.
Jira
With-
admin.
Well, and that's why I think it was oh come on, why did I just forget his name? He's speaking. Josh and I are in a real agreement. Like Jira admin, we're like the Jira coach. We're like we oversee the beating heart of so many companies because we see how people work. And that's how they come together.
All right. Well, Bryan, thank you for being on. I know it's going to be a hectic weekend for you, so we appreciate
I'm
you
so excited.
taking the time. Alex, we know you're going to have a hectic weekend as well. So thank you for taking time today to be with us. Everyone, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to do the like, subscribe, join the membership program, all the fun YouTube things we need to do. And as we always say, we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us. Thanks for watching.
Peace out, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, Rodney, the Jira Guy Nissen, and Sarah, #I believe Sarah, right. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lena Ortiz. You can catch us as we record this podcast live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and the other Jiramigos of the Peanut Gallery each week to ask questions, add your comments, and tell us what you're up to. If you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. You can also find us as a podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you think this podcast deserves a rating, it would be much appreciated as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us. Thank you to Revyz for backing us up and making the Jira Life possible.